Hey guys, Taiga here, and what I have here is this year's flagship from Apple, the iPhone 6. And just like every other iPhone, the attention to detail is incredible. The sides are rounded off now, giving this a smooth one-piece experience. And the display is rounded on the edge, which gives you this spilling effect, and it's really cool, and your thumb just naturally rests there. But I will say that Apple wasn't the first to do this, because the Nokia icon has this too. But nonetheless, the rounded edges just makes the device more comfortable to hold. But one thing I would say though is that the iPhone is really slippery. It's bigger and so light that it just makes it feel so dainty and fragile, and it scares me every single time. There's no edges to hold on to, and taking it out of the pocket will probably be the most scariest part. But the rest of the build for this phone is awesome. It definitely doesn't offer the tank-like build of the HTC One M8, but it's miles better than Samsung's current flagship, the Galaxy S5. It's bigger now since it has a 4.7-inch display, and you get used to it pretty quickly. And once you look back to the 5S, the older iPhones looks puny and tiny. But the thing that was more striking to me was the thinness. The phone is 6.9mm thin, which is crazy thin. And it's actually so sleek that the camera protrudes out a little bit and it rocks tiny bit when you lay it on the table. It's no big deal, but it just makes me wonder if Apple made the phone a little bit thicker, the camera wouldn't protrude. Plus, you'll be able to put a bigger battery for better battery life. But you know, that's Apple logic. Everybody is saying that the antenna line just makes the iPhone look weird, and it definitely does. But since I have a space gray model, it doesn't stand out as much. And plus, if the lines weren't there, the design would look boring and unusual at the same time. But still, Apple could do a bit better. And it's just that these small design flaws that just puts Apple down, and frankly, it disappoints me. And they replaced the power button to the side of the phone to accommodate the bigger size, and this is exactly how I feel.
They told me they moved the power button from the top of the phone to the side for the first time. That's pretty dope.
The reason why it's bigger is because it has a 4.7-inch display. So basically everything is bigger. The icons, the text, and videos are just all bigger. And I really like the new size. In my own personal preference, 4.7 through 5.2-inch screens is the most optimal for me, and it's between that border, so I really enjoy it. The screen is a sub 720p display, which isn't very sharp in today's standard, but it's a really good display nonetheless. The display has very good viewing angles, and the color reproduction is very natural and true to life, and it gets pretty bright. But iOS doesn't take advantage of the bigger screen, and that's disappointing coming from a company of Apple's caliber. Practically, the only feature they implemented was the reachability feature, which I hardly ever use, but it might be more used for the gigantic iPhone 6 Plus. And let's dig deeper to iOS 8. I'm coming from an Android phone, so my points will mainly come from an Android user perspective. And we could go on and on about notification actions, widgets, custom keyboards, cross-app communications, default apps, wireless charging, and more, all of which Android has for years, but I think you see the point. Android has almost everything that the new iPhone 6 has. But there are a few features in iOS 8 that just makes it hard to hate the operating system, even from an Android user. iOS 8 is similar to any other people who use an iPhone before, so it's really easy to learn and simple to use. Plus, that continuity feature with Yosemite sounds awesome. And the home button can do so many features. Double touch for the reachability feature, holding it down for Siri, and of course, Touch ID. Now, Touch ID isn't anything revolutionary anymore, but it's my first time experiencing it, and it's awesome. Just lightly pressing the home button to unlock the phone is so useful and handy that it's just hard to go back. And iOS is so smooth that it surprises me every time that there's only a dual-core processor and 1 gig of RAM. But there are things I don't like either. It's just that there are so many customizable features on Android that makes the iPhone look like a shameless control freak. The autocorrection is horrible and far worse than Android or Windows, and Siri is still quite useful, but Android offers much better voice assistant. and it's taking the app creators a long time to properly scale it to the new bigger display, and the app's not updated, looks fuzzy and awkward, and I hope the creators get on that soon, and then I'm basically happy with iOS 8. But there are things that I absolutely adore on the iPhone 6, like the camera. The camera is one of the best you can find on a smartphone. The camera app is smooth, fast, and user-friendly at the same time, which is hard to accomplish. It can take up to 60 frames per second videos in 1080p or at 720p. You could get even as low as 240 frames per second, which is ridiculous, but they're not the only one that could do that anymore. It's still an 8 megapixel camera, but it has really fast focus and fast aperture. All the photos I took was really clean and consistent. The images come out really natural and true to life, and the image processing that Apple makes is really top notch. I wish Android could just steal their image processing. Oh wait, they get sued. And if you want to see some video samples, make sure to check out the Moto 360 review, since that video was taken completely on the iPhone 6. And this video, by the way, was taken on the HTC One M8, which is definitely not the best camera. But going back to the topic, the only downside I could possibly find was that there's no 4K capability, which is a minor complaint, but still I expected something a little bit more. So you get an excellent top-notch camera in a very thin device. And with a very thin device, you get a small battery, 1810 mAh to be precise. And on paper, that's super small compared to other flagships these days, but it has the A8 chip, and Apple did everything they can do to help the battery life. And one thing I can say with iPhones is that the great standby time. If you don't charge it overnight, the phone will likely to only drop maybe 2%, which is phenomenal. And even when I use it heavily, like web browsing, taking photos and videos, and a lot of video watching, this made it to the end of the day with no problem, which is a very noticeable upgrade from the past. But it's not as good as other competing flagships and still falls behind a bit, but overall the battery life was a safe upgrade from the past. Coming from a guy that is a Google user and a lot of Google services user like Gmail, Google Drive, Google Plus, and YouTube, the iPhone would definitely not be my first choice, but if I had to pick anything else than Android, it would definitely be the iPhone 6. Well, that's basically going to sum it up for today's video, and I've been getting a lot of requests to do my 1000 subscribers challenge video, so I'll be doing that very soon, so stay tuned for that. And if you possibly watched the video all the way up to here, make sure to comment #capslock is a lock. And thank you for watching this one. I'll catch you guys in the next video.
Incredible. It's incredible. The phone is incredibly great. It's super good for the first time ever. We did it again.